Simon, what the heck is going on?
Well, OK, it's very complicated, but the main thing is if you are a rail passenger or indeed a taxpayer who's bankrolling this whole miserable business, then you will be getting increasingly cheesed off. Let's just pick up on those strikes.
Yes.
Now, the TSSA, white-collar union, generally more moderate than the RMT union and indeed the ASLEF train drivers union, but they're obviously fed up, and they are going on strike between Christmas and New Year. Frankly, a lot of your viewers are going to be saying, I didn't know there were any trains anyway, because obviously this coincides with the festive engineering works that are going ahead. It will make it almost pretty much continuous kind of line of industrial action all the way through to second week in January on the railways. I'm not sure how much effect that will have on those two train operators. I would say they won't shut them down. However, we are on day 2 of a national rail strike.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking, oh, it's a 2-day strike, so I'll be back on the trains tomorrow. Watch out. There's lots of disruption expected for tomorrow as well, because lots of staff who were perhaps due to work overnight won't be, and therefore things will be slow starting up in the morning. And they'll also start closing down tomorrow evening ahead of the next 48-hour strike.
Yeah.
And this is so complicated that in Scotland, ScotRail have basically just said, all week we're just going to assume there's a strike. So, you know, we do a few trains around Glasgow, around Edinburgh, and that's it.
Yes, indeed. Now, something that might seem slightly self-defeating as far as the Mick Lynch and the RMTs of this world are concerned is that, as we understand it, his members' strike action is going to cost them around £5,000. This is according to reports. You seem well, that might not be true.
Look, it all depends. It's difficult to say. So they will...
Well, he couldn't say it quite famously on Radio 4 yesterday, and he got a bit leery.
Yeah. So it all depends. If, for example, you are a relatively high-earning person belonging to the RMT and working for either Network Rail or a train operator, and you were used to doing lots of overtime, then, well, you could have, in theory, lost a maximum of, by the time we get to the end of this, 16 days' work and untold amounts of overtime as well. So for a number of people, it will be into the thousands. I'd probably say somewhere between £1,000 and £1,500 is probably the kind of average. But I mean, it's a significant amount of money, and you've got to, you know, you've been on strike and you want to win that
Well,
back.
that's it. And I think as well, obviously, one thing I was alluding to was whether or not the government is deciding that actually public opinion may now be turning against the people who are going on strike, and also how long can they stay on strike for if they're losing that kind of money. But your advice to people, just very briefly, who are using the trains right across the UK would be, what, stay home if you can?
No. I mean, there are going to be trains running all the way through, apart from Christmas and Boxing Day, when they never run anyway. Just check in advance if your train is running. For instance, if you were hoping to travel from Scotland to London today, well, I'm afraid you've missed that by a couple of hours.